But Henson, we're going to start with Purdue, Gonzaga, and I'm going to go to you first because this was a game that was dominated by the big fella, Zach Edey, 25 points, 14 rebounds, and a 73-61 win for the Boilermakers, knocking off Gonzaga. They won. They covered, most importantly, and for about 25 minutes down the stretch of that game, John, they looked like a dominant basketball team.
Yeah, they Edey obviously did what he does, and that's even in the first half after missing. I mean, he missed 3 or 4 chip shots, so he could have actually had a better game. But you saw their maturity, you saw their growth, you saw their experience. They didn't get rattled. Gonzaga gave them their best shot, and then they just wore them down. Gonzaga kept shooting threes, and one thing Purdue is going to get is good looks at the rim with Edey down there. So Gonzaga didn't make enough threes. They just didn't make enough threes, and Edey is going to get his good high percentage shots, and they just wore him down and down the stretch. Braden Smith obviously played really well, kind of ran the show, which is kind of the first time I've really seen him kind of take control of a game like that. So Purdue looks like they're legit contenders. Let's just hope they don't see FDU anywhere down the road. I think they'll be fine.
Goodman, what do you
don't
make
have to worry about that this year?
Okay.
Then I got stuff to do. Don't worry. Listen, my take, as much as we're going to talk about Edey and Braden Smith, Rob, to me, Lance Jones changes his team. He changes the team because he gives them something that they just didn't have. We saw it against Xavier, and we saw it again the second half. A guy who can really get to the rim and is physical and can guard at a high level. He's athletic. He's fearless. He's tough. He provides kind of almost everything that I think Purdue needed, other than maybe a guy who takes a little bit more pressure off Braden Smith handling the ball. But to be honest, Braden Smith's gotten so much better from a year ago in terms of being able to handle the pressure that I think he's going to be fine. But, the concern is still that 4th spot. And Kaufman, Wren, and Edey together, I don't like it. I just don't like it.
Yeah, the worrying part tonight is that when you're going up against a team like Gonzaga, they want to play big. The Zags want to play 2 big guys. They kind of are forced into doing it because they don't have Steel Venters, which is a different conversation for a different day. But they play Graham Ike at the 5, and a lot of times they are playing Ben Gregg and Braden Huff together, which is not ideal when you can't win those matchups when you have a second big on the floor. If you're Purdue, you just kind of need that spacing out there. I want to go back to Braden Smith though, John. Like, this dude, to me, he finished with 13 points. He finished with 4 boards. He had 6 assists. He had 5 steals. He was getting to the bucket. He was making tough shots. He was doing all of the things that by the end of last year, he wasn't doing in those big games when, let's just call it what it is, Purdue kind of choked away the end of their season. And I could not be more impressed with what I saw out of him today.
He looked good. He looked like he had learned from his. I mean, there was a point in time last season when they would pressure him towards the end of the game. He couldn't bring the ball up. Purdue had a problem bringing the ball up during the tournament, and just late into the Big Ten tournament, they would get pressured and couldn't bring the ball up. So he looks like a completely different player. The confidence is there. He hit some tough shots. Like he was kind of a steadying presence for them today. And if he can complement Zach Edey the way he did today, I don't even know if the 4th spot, they'll be able to figure that out, because by the time they figure that out, they'll be firmly in the national championship race, playing well. And like I said, I love Braden Smith. Jeff brought up a good point too, with the other guard, Lance Jones. He was pushing the pace. They sped the pace up. We haven't seen Purdue kind of speed the pace up like that before. They sped the pace up, kind of put Gonzaga on their heels, and that's when the game kind of flipped towards Purdue. So being able to win in different ways, which I also had a problem with Purdue last year. They couldn't win in different ways. Mm-hmm. Today you saw they kind of pushed the pace a little bit and kind of took the reins of that game.
Jeff, what do you make of Gonzaga?
I actually was impressed with them. I mean, they out-rebounded Purdue in the first half. Again, they relied too heavily on the 3 in the second half and didn't make any. But, I expected them to get blown out. I think you did too in this game. And eventually it was a 10-point game. But they fought them. They competed against a top 5 team in the country on a neutral court. My biggest thing is they have no depth. They have 7 guys right now. And they're one injury away from being in real trouble this year. And they don't have a dude. They got a bunch of good players. Ryan Nemhard's a really good player. I think Nolan Hickman's gotten better. They've got Graham Ike is certainly helps with what he can do down low, but I just don't know if they've got a dude. So I think they're a team that is going to be solid throughout the year, but not a team that I'd worry about too much going to a Final Four this year.
Yeah, they have 7 guys, but the 2 guys that come off their bench are big fellas, right? So they're playing their smallest lineup as it is, and you got Graham Ike, who is not exactly the most mobile center, John, and you're playing Anton
Right.
Watson next to him. So you're basically playing a natural 5 and a natural 4, and you can't get to a small ball lineup. Like, that's the big red flag to me. Is there's no matchup versatility when it comes to this Gonzaga team.
Yeah, they are who they are. They're they're big down low. They have good guard play. They definitely need some help off the bench. I'm kind of looking at the stats today. They did out rebound them, 13 assists on 26 shots made. 30 shots. He shot 30. They didn't shoot the ball well. I mean, 6 for 32. But I think they could have got better threes, man. They were kind of started jacking it. When they saw that thing start going in, it was kind of like fool's gold. They started shooting more. Even big fella that was shooting the threes, he had only made 2 the whole year. He shot like 6 today or something like that, or I don't know how many he shot, but yeah, he shot
Yeah, it was
6.
2 for
So
6.
yeah, like I think Purdue at halftime was like, Zach, don't worry about that. He's only hit 2 this whole season. We'll live. And they baited him to take us some tough shots, especially when they needed the game to kind of calm down and have a sort of calming presence with Nembhard out there. They were firing threes still, and that's when Purdue just kind of took over, man, and didn't look back.
Goodman, Gonzaga or St. Mary's? Who's the best team in the WCC right now?
St. Mary's. I told you, I'm
Wow.
riding the Gales still. I don't care how bad they are. I'm not giving up. I'm not jumping. I'm going to be the last one off that wagon, other than Alex Ducas's family. I'm the last one off.
Look, I respect it, man. When push comes to shove, you dig in your heels and you try to prove to
Yeah.
everybody why you're right. Look, you're going to stay in the St. Mary's bandwagon. I'm sticking on this Tyrese Proctor bandwagon. He's going to figure it out, man. He's going to make this thing work. Henson, we're going to see Tyrese Proctor All-American before this thing is all
I
said and
mean,
done.
we had him. Yeah, we were talking about him All-American team. Like, I mean, when we were saying Roach was a guy really that should be on that in that discussion. So it looks like we were right about that.
Last thing I want to hit you guys on is Fletcher Lawyer was not good today, and I think not good is just the kind of politically correct way of talking about the game that he had. He was 0 for 6. There was one point in time in the second half, Jeff, where like he dropped the ball and threw up an air ball and was looking at his hands, and I think you could see it, like read his lips, say the ball is wet or whatever. Like he was in his head tonight. Was that just one night something, maybe you're playing at a game when you're in Hawaii with a different time zone, just getting used to maybe playing a morning game? Are you worried about Fletcher Lawyer there?
A little bit, because I think he's got more competition now. Like if you look at Colvin, right? Like he can play, man. He can shoot, and he's athletic, and he's coming. And like it's time, Lawyer. It's time. You've got to really step up now and be consistent. He was so good the first half of last year, so much better than we expected coming out of the gates. And then obviously he had a little bit of a wall and was hurt. And now he's got serious competition with Colvin for those minutes. And I like that for Painter. I don't love it at the 4-man spot because I don't know who the hell it is, but I like either Lawyer or Colvin, to be honest, at that spot. And I think it's like best man win, but you could play both of them minutes, no problem.